operators-wise, changes for these maps. So yeah, let's go. Map ban is coming in. It's going to be thrown up in just a second. There it is. Thank you, production. There it is. Tempra picking Consulate. Oregon picked by Virtus.Pro, and finally Villa as a decider. Well, both teams being fairly effective on Villa as a map overall. I see you playing the little game here. Was it like a fly there, Dev? What are you cooking up? What are you finding? What did numbers say?
I'm just keen. If we get to Villa, that's going to be a cracker, especially if Keoxys jumps back in on that Jaeger. I'd love to see that again against another Russian team. Starting it with Consulate, so that's Tempra's map pick. Funny that they chose that over Villa, actually. So after already 7-3ing Empire on Villa, they reckon they've got an even better chance on Consulate. Now, the risk here is we haven't seen a lot of Consulate recently from Virtus.Pro. They did actually lose it, though, to Chaos during the stage 2 of the EUL. So I feel like there's a bit of weakness there that Tempra spotted out in Virtus.Pro's game. Arguably, I think inarguably, the weakest team in EUL was Chaos. Yep. And Virtus.Pro, if you lose to the weakest team in the league, probably not a good map for you. So Tempra's trying to exploit some weakness there. I think that's a smart move.
Yeah, I mean, Consulate's an interesting one because you'd think that there's a lot about that map that would fit what Virtus.Pro are very good at. They're very good at utilizing their aggression. They're very good at, things like, they like to use like mirror setups, for example. If you have a mirror available on Consulate, particularly if you're defending down on the bottom floor, that can be particularly useful. So it's one of those maps that is like you would almost expect Virtus.Pro to do well on, and I'm hoping that they have been practicing it and they have something good to bring out. But I do agree. I think if we get to go to Villa, that's going to be the most exciting because evidently we just saw that Tempra played really well, but so did Virtus.Pro earlier on. I mean, they brought out a living room library defense, which is not something we see very often, and they made it work as well. They shut down BDS on that defense. And so when you talk about the ingenuity and the creativity of a team like Tempra, when it comes to Villa, you can't talk about them without turning the page and seeing the Virtus.Pro are in that same book as well.
And actually, you talk about stats and all of that. We got some team cards, some fancy graphics that our production team has put forward. And I know a lot of people have been watching Election somewhere in the world where they kind of just do a swirling in a circle over things. We got even better than that. So let's show what those team cards are. There it is. A win rate, best map, clubhouse, or worst map, Consulate.
Oh, man.
This is slick. Look at the round evolution.
What is that?
Look at that. Okay.
They did my graph.
Allow me to say it. This is sexy. This is sexy.
Camera.
This is sexy. This is beautiful. So this is what we got. You know what? Since it's your graph, James, what the hell does it mean? What am I supposed to learn from this round evolution?
This graph or something similar is what I made like last stage. And I said to production, and they were like, "Yeah, okay." And I didn't know that we had it. So these guys are legends. Basically, this is an explanation of a team's round difference across the season. So what we're looking at right here, all this data is about Virtus.Pro. It's about their journey. So if you look at stage 1 round evolution, the different team logos are the teams that Virtus.Pro versed. Little number is the round differential for that game. So anything that's below the 0 line means it's a round loss. Anything above is a round win. Anything on the 0 line means it was a 6-6 draw. So you can see it started off, Virtus.Pro had a really rough start to stage 1. BDS, Tempra, both losses, but started to get up on those upwards trajectories. Most convincing wins were against Vitality, Secret, and Na'Vi. It's just a really cool way to see how the team goes up and down over the course of the stage.
I know, James, you're so hyped right now. By the way, for people that are watching this right now, these are the stats. This is a screen that you clip so you can farm that karma over on the subreddit. But I assume we have another one as well for Tempra here. Let's bring it up and see what is there to show about Tempra when they've been bringing here. So, Gio, you know what? I'm going to leave this all onto you.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You look at those round evolutions, and back in stage 1, it was so up and down, like you've got the constant like zigzagging, and then stage 2, you can see a consistent improvement. After that really horrible game they had against BDS, you can see them face Empire, against whom they drew, and then beyond that, it was a constant wins, and that's how they ended up here anyway. And then you can have a look at some of their other stats on the other side. I mean, unsurprising, their defensive win rate is up 59%. It's a lot higher than their attacking win rate. That kind of corroborates with things that we've seen from them so far. Worst map clubhouse. That sounds familiar. Yeah.
I will just touch on here, since we've still got the graphic up, you can see here, we're looking at Tempra's perspective, right? You can see in Stage 1 and Stage 2 how Virtus.Pro falls. Of course, this is a rematch of both of those games. In Stage 1, we can see that Tempra beat Virtus.Pro by 3 rounds, and in Stage 2, the opposite happened. Virtus.Pro beat Tempra by 3 rounds. Now, one of those games was actually on Consulate. Now, it was on... it was on Consulate. There you go. So that first game in Stage 1, where Tempra beat Virtus.Pro 7-3, was on Consulate. This first map, number 1 here, is going to be a rematch of that. So it just makes even more sense as to why Tempra would pick that map. Not only has it been statistically a better map for them than for Virtus.Pro, but they literally beat that team on it when was that? It was June, not that many months ago.
Yeah, but you say that Tempra drew with Empire on Clubhouse in the regular season, and we just saw what happened
Consulate.
to Tempra on Clubhouse.
Talking Consulate.
I know we're talking Consulate, but my point is Tempra drew with Empire on Clubhouse, and we just saw what happened with them with Empire on Clubhouse. So you can't just take the past and assume it's going to be repeated, James.
Well, what am I meant to do then? I've got my entire spreadsheet. I just throw it out the window.
Yeah, not everything's about spreadsheets.
What?
I dispute that. No.
Yeah, I'll see you in court. I know.
Wrong.
I'm gonna subpoena that.
I
can tell you that. By the way, for everybody that might not have seen this again, before Hap goes and grabs the free karma on the subreddit, you better be screenshotting these. Hap will definitely be doing it. So make sure you're faster than him in that respect. Now he's saying he's not, but I think he's just
a dirty liar.
People can't hear him. He just says he's not making any screenshot. I don't believe that, though. So, Gio, James, we're looking at this game. Let's try to wrap things up here before we head it over. Victory on map 1. How does it go? Which side? What numbers? Very quick, Gio.
I really want to say Virtus.Pro just because of how impressed I was with the way that they played, but we've seen what being on their own map pick did for Tempra against Empire, despite the domination that happened on the following 2 maps. So actually, I think it's more likely to go for Tempra here, but overall, I'm expecting Virtus.Pro to take the win.
James Pooh?
Yep.
Hey, that's my name for him.
I've got to echo that one. I do think statistics say that Tempra should be favored on Consulate. Virtus.Pro red hot right now, though. They were 2 rounds off of winning 2-0 against BDS, and only 1 round away from winning it 2-1. I think that they look to be the better team, but the stakes are higher for Tempra because they need this win to have a shot at making top 16 for SI points.
Yeah, I think Virtus.Pro, before they go to their winter hibernation, they're going to need to prove themselves. Still, today they did it close against BDS. Let's see how it goes against Tempra. Yet another French team that they're going to try to go through, and it's map 1. Consulate, let's toss it over to our casters. Fluke and Hap, all yours.
Hey, thank you. Wow, what a pleasure to be here. Hey, how you doing? You on that side?
Hey.
No, you're on that side. You're on the wall for me.
I'm on that side.
We got another...
Yeah,
you're over there. We got another France and Russia showdown, as is tradition, as is the way that we're carrying across this entire tournament, because these are the only 2 regions that showed up. Look at them there. I love... How cool are these glass graphics, by the way? I'm sure everybody's talked about them at this point.
They're very cool. It's just unfortunate they had to break a glass window of it.
Well,
but I'm pretty sure we're going to see plenty of glass windows being broken in this game, because we're talking about Consulate.
Wasn't the theory... Is it a theory or is it truth that it was...
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's more of a theory. There was a yellow tulip in a display box.
In a display vase. Display box. Sorry, I love the use of the word. Flowers in a box. It's a vase. I thought the tulips were supposed to be from where you're from.
Do we want to... Okay. Yes, but also no.
I'll say we've got easy observing as well.
Basically, we stole them.
Yeah, okay. Well, that sounds like... Hey, Lion, gone. Virtus.Pro, removing it instantly. An operator where we've seen it played by a few choice people on Consulate. It adds a bit of pace. The most recent and surprising example was obviously Gamma Gaming. Navash, I believe, was the one who ran it with the 417.
Yes, that is true. He ran the 417 over the feed 3. Of course, the higher caliber Vector, not with the not the same one as Mirror and Goyo use, but is its own little iteration of it. Hits harder, definitely. But yeah, 417 was being used, but we're not going to see either of those weapons right now, as the line has been banned out.
Get him out of there, get him gone, get us onto Consulate. Now, obviously, when we're looking at the map pool that we have ahead of us as well... Hey, that's a familiar face gone. When you're looking at the map pool that we've got ahead of us as well, you...
Did they ban you?
Well, I know, I didn't mean it like that, as in she's never allowed to play on Consulate.
Okay.
That
makes sense.
She's too good, too powerful.
Normally it's a Nomad and Valk combination.
Yep.
Now just the Valk.
That's it. Now it's just Valk. Lion's gone. And I think, yeah, as I said, Lion's the recent adaptation. Lion's the recent kind of revolution for some teams, and Virtus.Pro just don't want to play that game. You don't want to go up against it because it can be so quick to the punch. As you said before, earlier on, this map is a map of broken windows and broken glass. You add a Lion onto that. You add a bit of anticipation into when you want to pressure the push and when you want to kind of collapse in on your attacks, or even if you just want to try and collapse in on one of the roamers, because it is a big kind of roam presence map. It's a place where, especially the players of Virtus.Pro, who are very talented gunners, like to explore the whole kind of height of the map and the positionings that they can get themselves into. So get rid of that, give yourself a little bit more of a berth, and give yourself a little bit more to play for.
I'm just really worried how this map is going to be playing out, because we are playing Consulate, a very aggressive map, you could say. As we're going into a straight rehost. It's okay. But I wanted to say, Tempra come off to a really bad start, really, to get into this series. They were the second team to play. They lost 7-1 and very convincing. They lost very convincingly twice in a row. So their attitude, their mood, their motivation crushed. So it's like, how much can they do? Because Virtus.Pro, they had a very close game, but they did have a couple of hours, 3 of them, to prepare themselves for this matchup. They've had 3 hours to watch Tempra play. They've had the time to reset themselves. And it's often like the discussion, because Tempra is coming off hot. Virtus.Pro, they're cold again, but they had the time to reset and talk things through, whilst Tempra not really had that case. So it's like, which one will be more favored?
Well, the pace is always the breakdown there. It's the idea of momentum in Siege, which is a heavily momentum-based game. And okay, you're looking at 2 different examples here, as you said. You've got your cold team, the team that's been sitting on the side, and their series, unbelievable. I would say go back and watch the whole day, as I always would. But that first showing down, that very first best of 3 of the day, that was just all the way to the wire every single map. That's exhausting. That's a very tough game. But you build yourself into the momentum. You get yourself used to it. These are all, the top players around the world. So they're used to the stress. However, if you're looking at the situation now, they burnt really bright and then they cooled down a little. You scrim in the meantime. Tempra's game, they had a really good first map, obviously. They were able to put loads of pressure on there. Club was the worst that they played in the middle. But even then, they picked themselves up on that third map. It still wasn't a great game for them. Obviously, the result kind of shows that they weren't quite as hot and into the match as possible. So you worry then. It's the build-up of, are they in a bit of a funk right now? Do they need more of a mental reset between that game where things went quite wrong and this game? And is this just going to hurt them more from that mental side of, we've gone straight into it?
That's the question, because if they're coming off to a map like 7-1, which was their last map, it's not looking good. Yes, of course, it's Oregon, and it was a very good first half of Empire, which could have also been a 4-2 split, which would be a bit more favored towards Tempra. It still isn't a score you would be happy about. You're expected to win some defensive rounds, especially if you're 5 from behind. There is some opportunity there, and that is the big worry for me. I'm a big fan of these boys. I really hope they're going to be able to reset themselves, put themselves up to the challenge here. Because when I was talking to Dez, I was like, Virtus.Pro looks really sharp compared to what Empire and Tempra looked like during that first map, especially. So if Virtus.Pro is able to keep up that edge, then I don't think it's going to be a very fun night here for Tempra.
I think that's the worry that everybody's sitting in right now, because what we're looking at is a Virtus.Pro that gave beyond a heck of a fight to the tournament favourites of BDS, to the reigning champions of BDS. Virtus.Pro, who usually, when they're on the major stage, often have their worst performance in their first game and then start to build it up, but unfortunately have obviously never really truly gone the distance. Here they showed up strong, sure. They're in the lower bracket, the losers bracket, but so were BDS in this position last time. And this is the start of potentially keeping that fire hot, leaving their mark here before they obviously lead into the potential of fighting their way all the way back to the top. We are back in. Thankfully, WTG has got more frames that he's actually supposed to have this time, so you assume, hopefully, we'll be able to dig our way further through. And we're starting down on the cafe site here. The hold is standard and familiar. Mirror on the board, the Melusi to slow the approach from anyone who goes through the big barricaded wall, and the mute to try and keep a bit of a control on Tempra's drone game, which, as we heard in the interview with Joystick, is sometimes very, very tricky.
It can be very tricky indeed, and we're playing a very aggressive map right here, and I'm looking at this setup that Virtus.Pro is bringing. We see a shotgun on WTG, we see a shotgun and shockwaves. We're probably not going to be expecting any aggressive jump outs from those players. Also having a mirror, of course, on Milan. 1 speed, also very unlikely to go for jump outs or aggressive plays. So then you have 2 operators left. Pasha onto that Melusi with the MP5, very accurate gun. And Rask with the 416, the infamous one. Those are the 2 players to look out for to see any early or mid-round aggressive plays towards the outside area of the map or potentially at windows that will be hoping to disrupt the Tempra players.
Now, as we said before, this is a great map for roam. It really allows you to be a bit tall, play into the space that's offered, and it seems like Tempra are wasting no time in trying to close down on that. Pasha is obviously on the far side, joined by the Jaeger, as they have a bit of a pinch potential here, and P4 is the first to suffer some of the pressure. Pushed back into the projector room as he waits and hopes for a little bit of support here. They have a hatch right by Rask if he wants to drop down and get out of there. Need be, they're just dropping the drones for as long as possible. There's a rotation around the top of yellow too. It's a little bit more dangerous to take, especially as you're well aware. They're now well aware of where you are, and they're going to hold the angle. See if they can catch you before you get anywhere close to safety. Shockwave is rotating underneath, trying to offer a bit of support potentially, and just keep a bit of a calm on that yellow stairs to make sure they don't get entirely locked off. But no, he's actually found his way back towards the hatch. Potentially got the double hatch open if they're playing it so close, though.
Now 1 falling back from the yellow stairs, and that's the first kill. Pasha able to pick 1 up, instantly traded. Oshinka will respawn. Rask is still, however, upstairs, able to get 1 kill down, putting quite some damage down onto both Shinka and P4, who are both low on HP. Milan now comes up to try and rotate and try to help, but he will be shot down as well. So it's a double kill to come down from Tempra, and suddenly we find ourselves in a 2v3 situation in favor of the Frenchman. But they still need to fight themselves towards the side, and we still have Shockwave inside the bathroom and antechamber, able to shut them down, able to be a bit disruptive if they want to be going for that vertical play onto the direct side.
Huge amount of body and destruction done on the top floor, and now P4 is trying to creep his way down towards the actual site itself, but with only 45 seconds and even less health, well, that's not going to stop him. Finds 1 more, and it just leaves the man in the bathroom. He's going to drop down and go for the rotate on the hatch to lock down on yellow stairs. Lost his C4, trying to engage with the confrontation upstairs. Pops up, pops down. Puts the body onto the stairs. P4's finally stopped, but the slivers of damage are being done from the opposite side. There's a man apiece, and the living drone is now, well, not living anymore. It's the push that comes through. But with 20 seconds and the drone and diffuser in hand, as well as the intel, they're just going to try and pop the plant down. Opens himself up an angle and tries to stop it, but can't quite get the shot behind the chassis. Now it's a post-plant situation. They know exactly where you are. You've got to try and retake against your own mirror windows and your own intel. They have an angle on your left and one on the right. What's the approach here? Seems like White Van is the attempted recipe for success here. Pops instantly round, going to give himself a bit of an idea and intel and pushes them away. There's a bit more of a swing, but they're not swinging too far. They know they don't have to. There it is. There's the kiss. There's the kill. Tempra, first round.
Mirror windows really working against him here. That is why you want to be active on those actual windows. And I really like what Milan tried to do. He tried to support Rask as he was going aggressive. He knew 2 were low. He tried to capitalize on it, but instead they both got taken down. They both got shut down, and it left you with basically no one left to play with on the actual side. You were in a 1v3 situation there. The mirror windows were up against you. There is almost no way coming back from that at that moment in time.
It's not easy. It's not easy, but they're going to try it again. Cafe is going to be the double down here. And to be fair, if we look at the start of how that worked, it was able to get the trades. Pasha obviously picked up the first. Rask was able to then capitalize on it, and if it wasn't for the heroics of Shinka in the bathroom, well, it could have been a very different story, and that's what they're going to try and opt for. Talking of stories, one of my favorite is Amaru in the hands of French teams.
I'm a bit worried though. I think Tempra might have expected them to go to the top 4, continue the rotation. Because that is often a thing teams do, right? They continue the rotation even if you lose the round. But probably they lost this one in a way where they're feeling confident that if they are a bit more passive, they're going to be able to get that win in. And that leaves you now with Amaru. You're not going to be able to directly go onto the side, but you are going to be able to quickly take control of admin or bathroom or connector, whichever one you would like. And if you have the information and the drones to back that up, you're going to be able to make some quick control happen. And it looks like Durza indeed will be going for some of that quick control, and it might be admin as well, as he's getting close.
Seems like they want to push their way to Visa and dig their way down as Voy suffers first. The shotgun locks him off, but the trades are already there as Durza finds Milon. And look at the pressure on site already. Durza's just gone straight in. They went for the quick clear, realized that so many bodies were on the second story from Virtus.Pro, and hey, why not just take the site if they're going to hand it over, but they haven't handed it yet. Pasha strikes one with Chaos is getting the revenge, but there's the diffuser and there's the pickup. How he pulls that together, I will not be able to tell you, but what I can say is Tempra have their second round.
Whenever Tempra picks up on the actual Amaru, they always seem to be bringing something special, something new. And where I thought they would be able to quickly go to admin, take some early map pressure, they actually went into the Visa stairs, they went down to the direct sides and put some early pressure together with the actual yellow stairs. It was another rush to come through, and they managed to make it stick as well quite quickly, and that leaves them with 2 rounds in the advantage right now. Even though the first one might have had to go to VP. And instead of going to the top floor, they are yet again running it back on Cafe Garage. And this is the second time the mirror windows weren't really helping them.
Hey, what's the purpose if there's nobody to really keep them in control? Third time lucky? You hope if you're in the Virtus.Pro camp, but to be honest, you'd be mistaken for thinking you're on the second round with how quick that last stomping was. Tempra apply the pace. It's a trick that they have and one they've been able to employ against teams, and it's one of the things I talked about earlier on when we were talking about the teams was their surprise aggression. Their ability to just swing themselves into a firefight, full confidence and not bear down on the weight of everything that's going on. Obviously, they didn't really have the best success with that against Empire earlier. Empire kind of did Empire things, but when Empire do good things, not the other recent runs. And here, this Tempra, this first 2 rounds, you're thinking, okay, this is late season Tempra. This is Tempra versus G2. This is a Tempra that has some possibility, some heat, and it's answered the question and the worries of momentum, and are they burnt out?
Is the question, are they burned out, or are they going to be able to continue as they were before? His charges, the Selma's already blowing up some holes into the garage. Of course, only 2 explosions per Selma now, instead of the 3 before. Bit of a nerf that came through to make Termite a bit more viable, because, well, to be honest, Ace was outshining every single Heart Breacher almost. Only Maverick still had his place in. As, he's still being used. There's still 2 holes there, and like the thing that I want to point out most, sometimes you see a Maestro Cam being deployed right next to the White Fan. Of course, not the case now as he has been banned, but it could be a player playing there. And with the current way that these Selmas work, you're not going to be able to get an angle down onto his actual feet if you go prone next to one of the breaches, because they're basically above the ground level. So that's something to keep in mind. You might miss 1 or 2 kills because of that in a full matchup.
Virtus.Pro are trying to stealth approach towards the basement now. They want to make sure that they don't give up the top hold, because otherwise why hold it? But the test is going to come to how quickly they can act upon the potential pace of the French team that goes against Virtus.Pro here. Virtus.Pro themselves, they're stacking up and setting themselves up to try and collapse down, but the first falls into their favor. Shockwave finds Chaoxys, the door's all there, and with Piano there too, it's a very easy capitalization upon the heads and the sentence of Tempra. P4 creeps up the stairs and tries to pop some bullets towards the man inside, but with your diffuser carrier down and you're the last one standing, you gotta start acting. In a 3 versus 1, Shockwave has his triple whilst he's playing up there. Rask exposed outside, but he doesn't really care right now. He's baiting the play. They have the split fire. They know where he is, and they know where he's going. And it's going to a Shockwave 4K.
I'm gonna say Rask is outside there. Don't really have to worry about him. Try and do something else. As Shockwave gets that final kill. And now we see ourselves in a 1-2 situation. Tempra still in the lead, but Virtus.Pro starting to get a hold of what they actually wanted in the first round.
Console meeting. We head our way, finally, to the top floor. A little taste of a potentially different defense now, and I guess we'll see if the offense can be one that matches the pace and tenacity of the first two. They tried a plan C, the often ill-tested and ill-timed one, but I guess you're not often finding yourself hitting the same site over and over and over again. Tempra tried something, but you've got to still pay some focus. Sure, you did the quick play and plant before, and you knew Virtus.Pro wouldn't fall for that again. Why not go back to your top floor clear? Okay, it came down to some heroics to Shinker in the bathroom, but at the same time, build upon that. You know they're going to be playing the top floor. You know, seemingly, how they're going to be holding the rest of the map. And Piano, you just kind of left it, ignored it. And unfortunately, it led to a little bit of a firing line for the man behind the ivory keys. However, the top floor, a different story, different potential, and a different setup here from the hands of Virtus.Pro.
Not seeing the Amaru coming out now, so that shows that it wasn't actually meant for the top floor because, well, after winning the basement finally after 3 times, it would only be logical for them to go to the top floor instead of lobby first. And we don't see the Amaru now. So it was a pocket coming out. It worked out well, but that's the thing. It works out once in that matchup. You're not going to be able to pull that off twice in a row because they are going to be ready for it. And as I'm talking about people being ready, P4 opening up that window, instantly receiving some shots from Milan on the other side. Not too much damage being received there, but still, 25 damage. That's another bullet that you can no longer take.
Now then, as they start to pepper all the windows possible, as we said, this is a broken glass map, and they're trying to lean in to that prevalence. Milan finds P4 and just finds one more. Why not? 2 windows, 2 different angles, and at least one back in the favor of Tempra as Shockwave goes down. The Wamai's off the board, so that's a overtime gadget gone, but Milan's going to try and move in to his fellow ADS stopper's position. Camera keeps flickering over the shoulder, keeps the eye on long desk, and he's confident enough to just swing on because why not? Wasn't watched properly, wasn't locked down. Now he's looking at the windows with the idea of running out, but Voi's on the top, Voi's waiting, dancing and baiting. You assume this is going to be a bit of a team talk.
Know exactly where he is. The Pulse is just scouting him around. It's an operator that is so valuable on a map like Console. You can go to the basement and basically know exactly where everybody is all the time if you're just getting to the top. You can see how many people are on the roof, how many people are repelled on, and you see Pasha being ready to go for a jump out, and probably Milan as well on the other side. Like the players of VP, they're hungry to try and get him, whilst Voy is just having some fun with his drone, parkouring around the map, trying to get some information out. As he now is finally ready, surely the call will come in. Okay, he's on the second skylight now, right above Spiral. Keeps on moving through. All right, that's a repel. You can jump out now if you have the opportunity to. Oh, there we go. Reaches the ground floor. 60 seconds left as he needs to try and make something out of this round. Needs to find 4 members of VP. So I think what you said before might be a bit of a team talk. Is probably the best that they can use this time for.
Yeah, Virtus.Pro, they're not throwing themselves away at this. They know that they need to scarper and stem the flow of this game, and a little bit more time isn't going to be the biggest cost for them because they're a great time-based team, and Tempra sometimes love to push momentum. So, Virtus.Pro, they're under no stress. Cool, calm, and collected is Milan's MO right now, and he's shown up so far in the first map and the first few rounds. It's a worrying thing if you're on the Tempra team. 2-2. Is the split, 2 in a row apiece. Who is going to be the first to pull ahead? Will it be Tempra repeating what they're able to before on Lobby Press Room, or a Virtus.Pro for the first time in this showdown going to be able to claw themselves one step closer?
It took a bit to get warmed up. The first 2 rounds didn't really go their way. One was really close and maybe a bit of an overstayed welcome from the roamers, and also being joined by Mira, who's, overstepped the boundaries. The second one was purely on Tempra, playing really well, getting that rush in without actually Virtus.Pro noticing, able to respond. But ever since VP, able to shut down whatever was being brought by Tempra quite efficiently. And as we are going to the lobby press room now, we will see these hatches being opened up as they allow Rask to throw up the C4, for example, depending if Pash will also join him in that endeavor. He can also toss out smokes. We've seen it done once before, not really too much success, but there is an opportunity.
Now, obviously, the lobby hold is a top-heavy one, most famously, and you assume Virtus.Pro are going to play into the traditional. They're a team that loves it, and they're a team that does it very, very well. But if we're going to cite some mistakes that we've kind of got to at this situation, Tempra's clear before on their first failure of this game and their third played round. It was misstep because they didn't truly pay attention to the verticality of the game. They didn't really go hunting for what Virtus.Pro wanted to set up and lock down, and I'm curious to see if they put a little bit more dedication towards what they need to do around the site before they actually try and go for the capitalization and put the diffuser down itself.
Maybe they need to bring some more Maru, because it seems to be working out quite well for them the last 2 times we've seen them play it. Once against GT, quick rush, instantly getting that win in. We just saw it here against VP. And I know I said it doesn't work like 2 times in a row, but I mean, it's been a couple of rounds now. You can try and surprise them.
I feel like we're going to see it on the last round. It's either the last round or the round before the last round, because otherwise you'll predict that it's going to be seen on the last round. Either way, they're looking to see if they can set themselves up all the intel they can. Admin's generally clear, they've decided, so that's going to be the point of ingress and entry. Milon's putting pressure on the CEO and console windows, and Pasha with a late reinforce once they've read where the push is coming from is a very clever pocket play. It gives them a little bit more to ballast and back themselves up with here as they angle themselves against long desk and careen their bullets towards any of the faces that pop up around those centers. Is that a default cam?
That is a default cam.
Wow.
Lesson number 1 in Siege. You shoot the things that are attached to the white poles.
I mean, unless they're trying to bait this exact thing of peek on us. But again, it's a particular idea there. If he now instantly swings around and drops the default, then I would say that it was an attempt at a bait. But at the same time, I guess that's me just being hopeful.
I think it's you being hopeful. I think they generally forgot, because normally it's like, it's almost a set thing, right? The person who enters the building first, or who's like going up to the roof first. I think it's still up. I don't see the crack in the top, because normally you can see the crack on the top if it's been taken out. So it should still be there, meaning that they will have some free information about Void going up to the balcony right now. That means that the roamers will actually be ready to respond if he's going to be putting up too much of a fight, and there we have it. WTG takes him down, and that is basically also that default cam allowing you to find out where they're coming from.
Yeah, assuming that default cam's still running right now, that's your entire front of your push. That's the entire face of this site, covered and locked and known. And with a Pulse working away too, busying in the basement to get all the reads and the beats, it's just going to make all that intel very, very strong for Virtus.Pro. Tempra, they've run out of time to try and get this top control, so they're just going to dig the diffuser in, potentially just behind the circle desk, though Durs is going wide, right into Piano by the looks of it, to push his way through the bathroom. Goes in the back and somehow finds Shockwave, with Chaos is getting 1-2, and P4 just pops up and pops down. WTG is looking for the diffuser, and he finds it! Unbelievable end to a round!
Played by the default cam, suddenly turned all around by an Ash just rushing in, and the player up above and projector taking 2 down, only to lose his life right after, and the planter to be denied instead. And that leaves us with Virtus.Pro in the lead for the first time in this series, as they're completely fired up. And we are going to Cafeteria Garage again, having the opportunity for a 6-pick, but it doesn't seem like we see another Amaru coming out. Maybe next map, but not this one, at least not for now. We might be going to an OT if it continues like how today has been going for, especially this first map, where VP was plagued by them, where Tempra a little bit less with the 7-2 and 7-1 loss.
Very good play there from Tempra. Got to give them credit for realizing they had to push and play it very close to the wire. They had themselves positioned close enough to start picking away the VP players. They went, okay, well, he's here, so let's push this. Getting the Ashe into the bathroom was a very bold attempt and a very bold move that worked very well, because at that point, in the final 15 seconds, if you're in VP's head, you're not thinking, okay, they're going to probably push around here. They're going to go for the diffuser. Let's keep an eye on it, keep a lockdown, see if we can get an idea. You're still down there, go into antechamber. Then you can swing onto piano and give us the read and the beat, or you can swing towards the lobby desk. Uh-oh, the timing's fallen away from us. There's an Ashe in the bathroom behind you. But at the same time, it falling down to a WTT clutch, well, that's the story of Virtus.Pro. The amount of times they'll have a player who shows up just in the nick of time, or one that decides to get a 3 or a 4K on a round, is seemingly the Virtus.Pro story. And it's one that's pretty often told on Consular.
Pasha up in the bathroom. Drones are coming out. You see one in projector. You see one coming up from the long desk. And the question is, how long is Pasha going to be able to stay alive? And is he being supported by the roam at the end? Yes, it's Rask that is still up above on the hatch in the actual office. You see him right there on your left-hand side of the screen. Able to drop out in any moment's time. Also has a rotate to the wall to his left, so he can instantly just jump through, quickly peek out, and fire some shots towards that long desk. This is the same play we saw in round number 1, where VP was able to get the first initial frags, but then they kind of threw it away a little bit. As a pre-fire comes in, Boy able to get the shot down onto Pasha, and that is one of your roamers gone, with 1 minute 20 already off the board. That's quite quick.
Now, as he drops down and tries to find himself a little bit more safety, this is more akin to the first round of Tempra going for the top clear and going with the aggression and the drone skill that, to be honest, we've seen drop off a little bit from time to time. Here, though, Rask pushed all the way down. He's going to find his way towards the spiral stairs and potentially Visa and just keep a bit of a lockdown here now. Creep steadily to offer some support to Shockwave and make sure nobody comes into the back behind him in the Zulu corridor, so it keeps a little bit more safety, a little bit more comfort. But with a minute on, Tempra, they're still steadily droning their way down. P4's taken the piano room as he tries to play his way through to victory. It's the sledging that's going to occur. Shockwave's ready to drop at the moment of a hat, but it's whether he tries to aggress or put anything towards this fight or just trusts himself, trusts the hold beneath and leaves himself locked in.
Might hope for the sledge to actually open up the wall right next to him, as it is still soft, so there's the opportunity for P4 to expand towards that hatch. But if he does, there might be a shotgun, there might be an SMG waiting for him. But it looks like P4 is going to be abandoning that ID, and this gives the opportunity for Shockwave to retake piano control and maybe even push down back towards the yellow stairs and put some pressure through as well. Voy, however, in the meantime, from the lobby, putting down some charges. We'll be hoping to challenge Shockwave soon, as the frags are going to be coming down now. It's a 2-man advantage to come through, but the shotgun will be coming in. Shink in the meantime, however, with that plant, meaning VP needs to aggress. They need to find that plant, so they need to take it down. Failed to do so. Rask able to pick up 1 kill, instantly picked up right after Shockwave responds as well. The question is, where are these last 2 players? And it looks like they will be outside. It looks like they have the opportunity to cover for that plant, as they're both on the northwestern corner, right here outside of that garage. So all they have to do is just hold, wait for the sound. It's a beautiful shot comes in there from Shockwave, able to pick up Durza, and now Shinka is stuck between a rock and a hard place. He needs to go and run somebody. It's a quad kill from Shockwave to come in, and that is the clutch, that is the defuse, and that is the 4-2 for Virtus.Pro to take the lead and expand it.
Hell of a play there by Shockwave. The man who was left in the bathroom and cooked a little bit too long started with, okay, the sledge moved off, that's fine. He did what he needed to do and he went on to help with the plant, which was successful. But there's a fear not quite getting those stuns into the right location due to whatever the angle was. Didn't give the true game away that someone was close on the angle. You expect somebody to play in the bathroom, and we saw Sophia swing on the corner, holding and, well, aiming towards the rough direction. But a little bit more intel or a little bit more pressure applied may have forced Shockwave down through that hatch a little bit earlier, or may have even confirmed the kill that would have stopped the man that then went on and killed so many others. 4-2 is the split in the favor of Virtus.Pro. And they're looking pretty good so far, but this is a game of two halves. Can they look just as good on the attack against Tempra's map?
That's the question. Is VP going to be able to outdo Tempra on their attacks? Are they going to be able to completely shut down the Frenchman now and make sure that now Tempra would be the first team to be eliminated? Because that's it. They were taking, or saying our goodbyes rather, to one team. And it's either one of these two because, you know, Empire, BDS both have a win under their belts, meaning they progress to the next day. And these are still fighting to join that club. These are still fighting to, well, at least come in third place.
Well, Tempra, let's see if you can prove the point of this being your playground. You've already gone for a bit of an early pick there against anyone that's hanging on the windows. You've fully solidified and locked yourself up in the top of the yellow stairs hold, and you're expecting the push to come from the same way. They have utility to burn through, but, you know, it's not the only way, not the only game that a team like VP can play here. Rask is going to put pressure onto the windows themselves, but we're seeing a lot of bodies stack themselves up on the lobby side and towards the spiral stairs. I'm curious to see if there ends up being a little bit more of a split pressure here as Shockwave is trying to angle his way towards anyone playing in the projector spot.
Just waiting. The pressure to come through. VP hoping to find an entry somewhere. As 50 seconds passed, we have 4 members on the roof right now. Oh, Pasha just rappelled down, so only 3. And it looks like they're rotating themselves toward an admin side push. Pasha already opened up onto the copy window, has the opportunity to put some pressure down there. But look at that, Foy has the opportunity to take him down if he goes for the rappel in. However, he is very exposed from someone on the skylight, and the drone will actually spot him out and try and find him right there in all the bushes. Small plants, really, it's not really a bush, is it? We'll find it eventually, but the pressure will come down soon. There we have it. Rask already repelling in.
You say already, it's the first feet in the boards, and it's a minute 30 gone. They really went deep on the intel and tried to push them away via window control before they finally found themselves boots on the ground. Now, they're steadily opening up the admin side and locking themselves in on this top floor push, rendering a lot of the yellow tough and touchy in terms of the defense utility used and spent, but at the same time, it becomes a bastion for Tempra to fall back to if they need a little bit more shelter cover and the ability to kind of push themselves back up against this approach here. Milan is locking himself on the connector angle and seeing if he can catch anyone that drifts a bit too wide, but the man's behind the long desk, and Rask is going to be the first. No, yes, it is even. Pasha swung around, but Rask was the one who confirmed the kill from the opposite side, and that's the first body to drop down. You can see Durza and Void. Both of them are looking towards this spiral staircase right now. They've got the hatch as well. They have the ability to loop in some pressure from underneath. They have the ability to shut this down before it really starts cooking into something. It's going to come down to how much time can be bought by the bodies on top, though.
Smoke canister got deployed, and it's about to be repelling. There we have it. Rask with a kill. Pasha with a frag grenade to come in. Instantly, it's a 5-on-2 situation. That means Shockwave now can go in. Will be digging himself in deep in the actual corner, starting out of that plant. Pasha has the long desk control. No one will be coming from there, but as I said, I will be taken down. It's only up to Foy now. It's not going to be able to cancel that plant, and instantly shut down by Rask, who was still outside the window, just repelling on the side. Able to pick up a couple of kills there. 3 in total, I believe, this round. And VP are building on. They're continuing their streak as they are currently 5-2 up, only 2 rounds away from looking at the first map.
Wow, Virtus.Pro, you wanted to come in as hot as you did on the first showdown, and so far you're living up to those high expectations. Cafe Garage, though, is a site that's been a bit back and forth and was definitely the rotten start for you. Can you have it start to end your swan song story as you find yourself potentially peering towards map point? The swap from the Buck to the Jackal to try and offer a little bit more control of the loose play of Tempra. A smart decision, to be fair, because we've already seen them play very off-site. We know Tempra can be a very aggressive off-site team. They love to explore the boards, and they often find some success there. So, just pulling a little bit away from that, pulling some confidence out of how deep, how far, and how kind of adrift that they can go without a bit of cover and without a bit of support could, in a way, blinker Tempra. Pull a bit of the confidence out from beneath their wings and have them stutter and fall to the ground.
Alright. Just quickly checking if I see anything weird, but See most of the similar kind of stuff being reinforced. We see the hatches being closed. We see the same bathroom hold being set up where the mute wants to make sure that, of course, drones are not going to be able to as freely come through as they might want to. All to keep that element of mystery interwoven in your kind of play style, making sure that they're not going to be completely sure whether or not someone is actually in there, making sure that they cannot breach either with those mute jammers. It's a very heavy investment that can be taken down, and someone will be just, able to swing, take down those mute jammers on the way there, and suddenly you can breach it. But it is going to be worth it if you're going to be able to hold off the attackers for 1 minute, 2 minutes, maybe even 2.5. Because often bathroom is a big contention point.
It's always funny seeing a Mozzie running away from a drone at that point, being teased by the things he so desperately wishes to be his friends. But it's pushed him to another unfortunate situation where, yet again, it's the drone game of Virtus.Pro. They seem to be aggressive with it. They want to make Tempra feel uncomfortable because they seem to have this very good understanding that when Tempra are uncomfortable, they leave. And when they leave, they can be punished, as we just saw the man get caught hitting a hatch. But at the same time, if they go unpunished, either way, they just leave. It seems like the pressure from the drones and the intel is more than enough for Virtus.Pro to say, you better run, Tempra, because we're coming, and they're coming very, very hot, fast, and aggressive. Big angles now being opened up on the top floor all the way down. They're working to a similar pace, except they've got an extra 20 seconds as they were on the last time round the round. And last time we went round the round, it was a pretty solid round for Virtus.Pro.
And that is the issue if you use all those mute jammers on that top floor to try and support your bathroom hold. Yes, that will remain closed, but it's going to be so easy for the attackers to just open up onto the actual garage wall, which will be your primary point of ingress. And here we have it. More Selmas will be deployed, and that will force Void to fall back a little bit because the mute jammer will not be able to pick those up. A refrag, however, is there as the WTG got picked up, but Void now trying to go aggressive. Flashbangs are going to be coming in, and there will be a swing from two sides. Grenade as well to come through, dealing a little bit of damage as it gets forced into a different angle. But Rask able to pick that one up, and we find ourselves in a 4v3 situation again, with the hatch still being opened up, still being a pressure point, and now the attackers can use. But keep in mind, Chaoxis or Durza, either of them is still in the roam.
Durza's realized they got to get back to the site. They've drew some attention away with a very quick bit of momentum and movement, but the way you can fall down Consular is so unbelievably quick. The hatch synergy is off the chains, and it allows you to get back to the site within a couple of seconds, and allows you to draw the attention away. Now, as the canisters start to pop on the staircase, it puts Shockwave in a little bit of a tough spot. Milon is going to have to apply the pressure on the bottom of Spiral and force Shinker into a more uncomfortable situation. But with only 13 seconds, it's suddenly a quick double for Virtus.Pro and leaving only Shinker on the back stairs. He's looking for that one last kill that never really truly arrived. And now, as he's come back to the site to find everything on fire and the diffuser down too, the pings are there, sure, but it's a tough gun to find yourself in this excursion. The first falls. You know there's one on the spiral stairs, and you trade, unfortunately for you. That goes to Virtus.Pro.
I'll prepare for trouble, make it double now. For sure. Because that was some trouble that last round, but they're even bigger trouble now, Fluke. It is map point. And not just one. No. Oh, that would be too crazy for this matchup. No, it's 4 map points in a row that Virtus.Pro has the opportunity to try and close out this first map. There's a lot of pressure here on Tempra right now because this was their map pick, and the analysts before said, Geo and Dev, I quote you, we saw what they could do on that map pick in the previous match. Thus, you cannot count them out for this matchup yet. But yes, here we go. Virtus.Pro is currently 6-2 up. They have 4 rounds to close this out. And with the way things are currently going, I'm not giving Tempra more than 1 round.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's a tough but fair premonition. I think it's fair to say. Obviously, Tempra took the first 2 rounds of this game, and they took them with some passion, flair, and creativity, and I believe that they might be able to apply that more and more, but to be honest, they might have been able to if Virtus.Pro hadn't started doing Virtus.Pro things. They're as good as they were earlier on in the day, and they're proving it by threading 6 rounds so far in a row and looking to try and capitalize and lock it off on all 7. They have been consistent. The clear as well. If you look at the way they picked the man out of the bathroom in that previous round, it was so aggressive, but so well balanced. Locked in. They had the body swinging around on the opposite multiple different sides. You saw how things didn't work for Tempra when they tried these kind of plays. In Virtus.Pro, they just do not take the risk. They know where they need to be, why they need to be there, whether it's the combination of the fantastic information we're seeing in them, whether it's just the force and the pressure that they're applying to not only the map, but Tempra itself. Either way, Tempra are not comfortable. You can see it in their movement, see it in their positioning, and unfortunately, see it in the scoreboard.
Really wish we could pause this setup here a little bit, because you see that opening there in the actual copy room. It goes all the way through the actual projector, and that gives you the opportunity to look inside of the connector if you're picking up closely. That is a grenade being used to get rid of a Vulcan shield, which is, well, somewhat of a good PC utility usage there, because you don't want to sledge that one, otherwise you blow yourself up. But some quick PC utility being dispatched right here by Virtus.Pro. My worry with the setup for Tempra would have been a actual admin take. Not an admin take, I mean a CEO take. Considering there's only one rotation they can really use, they can really get a line of sight of. Instead, they are playing right into the cards that Tempra wanted to play. They want to be contesting admin. That is why these holes are made. That's where all these shields are located. And you see a lot of the utility has already been used in those 2 initial Goyo shields, which, first of all, stall out time as well. But second of all, leave out little utility to deal with this shield that Shinka is playing behind. And this is the main shield that they need to worry about, because this is a smoke very much dug in into a corner, allowing or able to fall back into Spiral if that wasn't for the one member repelled up there. But they really need to take care of that power position that Shinka is currently in.
Rask is working on the drone there, and that forces Shinka away. He took a moment and realized the time was coming, and he somehow escaped. It was a very bold run, a very bold move. The shield was dropped. He expected it and played it well. He's down 2 canisters, though, and he's down most of his health. So the rest of this minute is going to be a very risky one throughout. Milan, concerned about the potential of a rotation up the spiral stairs as the drones of Virtus.Pro keep busying their way away. You can see the jackals underneath to try and lock off Voy and keep that under a bit more control. But Voy somehow twirls and drops the man. Throws the C4, but nobody is currently working on their printer, so it's kind of a little bit wasted. Hoped for a bit of anticipated aggression, but unfortunately was not met with it. Big late rotate coming from Pasha to get to connector, and Shockwave is able to just drop one as Rast tries to find the firefight against Void, both on a flicker of health, but it's the flick that comes through, and there's just one more. P4 finds another body. 10 seconds. Milan is on the long desk. He's hitting the belt, frantically trying to get a hold of somebody. Reception, anybody, please. I need to know where I'm going. But with only 5 seconds, unfortunately, the only way he's really going is to a round loss.
Still managed to get the down through on the member that was inside the lobby, and, well, Tempra able to pick up on this round. This is what I said, I don't give them more than 1 round. They just got that one. So it's up to them to prove me wrong now. But I feel that Virtus.Pro is going to be able to close it out here, because they're not going to be able to go up top. Meaning that the new setup, I really liked it with the Castle. It basically forced VP to go through sort of choke points and clear it bit by bit, forcing them to use the utility onto those Goyo shields first. Meaning they didn't have that much left for the actual shield that they needed to get rid of. But now we're going downstairs. And that is a side that doesn't really lend itself to the same kind of setup you just managed to pull off. You need to be more traditional here. You could be going for a more aggressive roam setup maybe, but if you do that, then VP is also a team that will just realize that that is going on. They will just rush and overwhelm the side as you're only with 2 people on there, get the plan down, and suddenly you're finding yourselves in a retake situation when you're all on the top 4. So it's also not really something you can rely on, which leaves them with very little opportunities.
Wow. Talking of, 3 more opportunities, Virtus.Pro, to try and lock this off. Tempra, you finally found another round. It came, well, there was all of Virtus.Pro's round between your round and the last round you got, but hey, it's something. See if you can turn it into something more. Down 2. A cafe yet again, a site that obviously was closed down with not a huge amount of time left generally, but at the same time, the thing I want to look towards is how quickly things were pushed away. Curious. Both hatches done, kaided. They're looking for a solid flat firefight here on the ground floor, and makes things potentially tricky for the two roamers, Shinka and Durza, but I guess it's down to how intently they want to stay on this top floor and keep it held.
It's the question, how aggressive do they want to play? How, well, sturdy do they want to be? Do they want to give up early and go back to side and make sure that the actual bomb sites are safe? Or do they want to try and play the guessing game, the betting game? Are we going to be staying up here, potentially losing out on more reinforcements inside, potentially losing out on pressure downstairs? Because we know when VP was playing upstairs very aggressively, they were shut down pretty effectively by the likes of Tempra. So there is a big risk to playing upstairs for this long. It's like it's really hard to feel when you need to fall back and when a situation is basically lost. And that is what separates the great roamers from the good ones.
That's it. That's the break. That's the split. And, well, that's the, I guess, dedication we're looking for from Tempra here. To be fair, they are holding it. At this point, previously, we would have seen Tempra already falling back. But they're digging themselves in. They've realized they've got to try and at least take a body with them. They have the possibility of tethering and threading themselves together, but Shinka takes a huge amount of damage. However, the amount of time he's been able to waste is one where he can set himself up for another hold, another potential 20, 30 seconds to take out of what can be a very dicey push, especially with the hefty turtle that has been laid over this basement hold. They're busying their way above. Shinka is now the only player that isn't inside the site itself, and Virtus.Pro are still looking for some clarity and confidence that they've got rid of him. Now they've got to angle their way down, but look at the timing. We're almost a minute slower than it was the last time.
Keep in mind as well, the Kaid is being played right here by Tempra. They bend Thatcher themselves, leaves you with little opportunity to actually try and deal with these electro claws, meaning you need to get the actual vertical or horizontal angle onto the claw to try and take it out. If you then succeed in taking it down, you can finally push towards the side, but I don't think there's enough time for them to set up for that. As, however, we do still see the Ace setting himself up to throw out those Selmas, which he now does successfully. Opening up all three panels. And the question is, how well will the cover be? And there we have a shockwave with the first kill right out of the Selma. Shinka, however, will be able to respond. Rask will find one as well. But we still have Shinka up top right here. Will be able to be picked up, however, as WTG comes in. And now Rask will be hurrying his way down to make sure that the cover will be there for the plant. 45 seconds on the clock. It's only up to Durza now. He will be able to find one. Swings around the white vent to try and get a second. But Milan was ready outside. And he will be able to shut him down right before he does any more damage. And make sure that Virtus.Pro is going to be able to win map number 1 here in Consulate. It was Tempra's map pick. They managed to win it nonetheless.
It puts you in a bit of a tough situation, Tempra. Sure, you're able to pull around towards the dying throws after having a pretty abysmal time around Consulate, not helped by the pace that was applied by Virtus.Pro. But even though you lost that final round, for me it showed a little bit of promise. Promise that you are going to stand up to the aggressors of Virtus.Pro and play your confidence game. A game we know you can be good and adept at.
It is indeed a, well, very adept game. Virtus.Pro able to show up huge after their devastating losses against BDS, and Tempra maybe not really, well, mentally reset themselves after the devastating losses against Empire. But let's just quickly toss it to some ads, and then we will be back with the analyst desk.
There we go.
Oh, wait, what? Ads! Ads!
Back to us? No ads! Does that mean my I Love Hap was on stream? Because that was meant to be off stream.
Probably heard you go, I love Hap. It's funny
We
because
always,
just
whenever
earlier,
we throw to ads,
just earlier
What?
you
Sorry,
said
you
you said I really want to be hot mic'd.
yes, I did. Usually when we toss to ads, we start saying some shenanigans. I'm really glad that that one was PG.
So, we got commercials, Corsair, Predator, and the game itself. They got to pay us somehow, so let's actually go to an ad break. What's up, people? I mean, you saw the back of my head. I'm gonna bald at some point, Middle Eastern and all that. It's too early for you. It's almost 10 p.m. here in Europe. But here we are, and I gotta say, we were going through the numbers, right, in the pre-game segment. We talked about Tempra and their usual performance on console. I can flat out say this, even though I'm not an analyst myself, that it didn't quite translate in the way we expected it here against VP.
Yeah,
bold claim. I know.
I just wanted to jump in and say I made the point about Clubhouse and how you can't always go on what happens in the regular season, and guess who was right? James.
James got the numbers though on the screen. Without him, we wouldn't have the cool graph and all. So throw a bone here.
I need my graphs.
He was so happy.
No, throw him any.
It's a valid point. It's a shame really because Tempra started off today so good with a 7-3 win, and if you look at that, aside from that 7-3 win, they've only won 6 rounds across 3 maps. That's not good. They got 7-1, 7-2'd, now 7-3'd. And guess what? Next map going back into Oregon, where they just got 7-1 by Empire. Virtus.Pro looking even hotter than Empire right now. I'm a bit scared. Scared for them.
What did Virtus.Pro do right here? Because in the beginning, we thought this was going to be way closer than it turned out to be.
My dude, they adapted is what they did. They went to cafe 4 times. 4 times. It's almost unheard of. By the time they went there the 3rd time, I was thinking, come on, this has failed you twice already. What are you doing? But they actually turned it around. And when you look back at those first 2 rounds where they were doing this really wide roam, and then you had Durza come in on the Amaru and just rush straight down into kitchen, what Virtus.Pro actually started to do after that was rein it in a bit. So even though they still had Shockwave, he was playing around in bathroom, you had Rask on the Jaeger who was up on a roam as well. He actually knew when to come back to site. And yes, he went for a bit of a late roam onto Spiral. Once again, he knew when to retreat, when he'd been seen, when he got caught out. And that was what led them to be in a position where they could actually take those rounds, because they knew how to discipline themselves based on Tempra's playstyle way better.
Okay, let's very quickly, before we go with your point, James, our match summary, just so people can see how the runs went down. But please, go ahead.
Yeah, well, this is great because it perfectly segues into what I was going to
almost like
talk
that's what I
about,
wanted
which
to
was,
do.
oh, yeah, you're beautiful, Milosh. Almost, I love you almost as much as I love Hap.
You're beautiful, almost.
He saved it. Okay, go.
Interpret how you will. You can see the first 2 rounds at the start. That was the only real time where we saw some traction from Tempra, and I kind of want to say that there was a bit of cheese in those rounds. So I'm all for cheese. And just to clarify, what I usually talk about is cheese is a strategy that you bring to the table because it's unexpected. And if it's expected, it's not going to work. That's like the rushes, like on round 2, the Amara rush we saw from Tempra. I absolutely love it. It's hilarious. It's fantastic. It's embarrassing the other team, but it's not consistent. And that's, I think, the thing that we're missing from Tempra. A bit of substance, a bit of kind of just being able to do normal Siege. Like having these kinds of cool pocket strats and funny rushes and cheese plays is awesome. But you need to have that on top of good fun, like a good fundamental strategy in Siege. Like you can't just have cheese be your default because people will adapt, as Virtus.Pro did. And on Virtus.Pro's attacks, they were just really, really confident in step by step, sequentially figuring out the system and doing what they needed to. And 3 out of 4 of those, they got the opening pick first, punishing a Tempra player more often than not very early in the round. There was round number 8, Shockwave found a pick with less than a minute into the round. P4 was already shut down. And all those times that the opening kill went towards Virtus.Pro on their attack, they managed to convert that to a round win as well. So overall, a bit of a rough one for Tempra. Still, I will say, Virtus.Pro, in my opinion, don't look as good as they did against BDS earlier today. So there is still a chance here for Tempra. That said, it's
bold claim.
Tired.
Bold claim. They
Don't blame
didn't
them.
look as good versus Tempra as they did. You know what? If we had more time, James, I would be picking your brain. I hope they will have a bit, but for now, we spent a lot of time on our first map. Very quickly, the MVP stats-wise for Consulate Map 1 before we have a quick chat about Oregon and before we toss it over to our casters.
Yeah,
there you go.
100%.
Artyom Simakov, it's Mr. Shockwave. 1.9 rating, that's pretty cool.
It's really nice to actually see that because we usually talk about Rask and Pasha. Pasha was actually the lowest rated player on Virtus.Pro after that first map. Shockwave taking on a lot of the really heavy supportive kind of role. One of those players who kind of sinks under the shadows somewhat. It's really cool to see that he showed up so much, especially looking at that KD, the rating, really kind of disgusting statistics that maybe he'll be able to carry forward to the next map.
Let's show the map bands actually just on screen. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I have to kind of get things in shape when it comes to... I know we can talk about every single one of these players and teams and sites forever, but you know we got to make it all count. Here, Oregon, it was Virtus.Pro's pick. Of course, they beat Tempra on map 1. James, I just want to toss it to you then. How do you see Oregon through all this performance today?
Keep in mind that just earlier today, we've actually seen Oregon twice already. Both of these teams have played it. If you were here for the start of the day, the BDS Virtus.Pro barn burner, which went 8-7 on Oregon. Virtus.Pro was 1 round. They actually had, 2 match points before overtime. They could have defeated BDS and sent BDS down into the lower bracket. Virtus.Pro just got edged ahead, BDS, but they demonstrated how good they are on Oregon. And Tempra got 7-1 by Team Empire. So, weighing up, Virtus.Pro nearly beat the best team in Europe, arguably one of the best in the world. Tempra got smacked 7-1 by Team Empire. I feel like this is cut and dried to me. Oregon should be a convincing win for Virtus.Pro.
What really sets them apart though? What brings Virtus.Pro forward? I mean, yeah, we saw how they were playing against BDS. You're talking about the comparison. Yeah, everything. But like, what is really missing with Tempra, specifically after watching Consulate?
For me, it's substance. Sorry.
Oh, well, substance is a good answer. I was going to say at this point, it doesn't really matter about what they're doing in the game. The point is that the mental fortitude is going to be significantly different
That's
here.
fair.
James, you made a very good point that they've taken 6 rounds since that first map that they played against Team Empire. Virtus.Pro have put up one of the closest games that we have seen, not just in this major so far, but in arguably the entire year of Siege against BDS, arguably the best team in this region, potentially even the world. And they've had some rest time. They've now just taken their opponent Tempra on their map that they are supposedly so much more favored for. Virtus.Pro are going to be feeling great. They're going to be like exuding confidence, whereas Tempra are actually probably going to be a bit worried by now.
So you know what? 2-0, I guess, is the tally for both of you. That's what I can hear and gather from it. 2-0 in the day. Let's go home. I mean, well, we are already home. We go get some, as James was talking about cheese, I'm kind of, all up for a grilled cheese right now. But
Go for some camembert right now.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm sure you haven't had breakfast yet, right, James? It's almost 9 a.m. where you are in Aussie land. But with that said, I guess it's time to throw it to our casters. Oregon might just be the end of today, but it's all up to Tempra to show up, or Virtus.Pro is just going to take him to town. Let's see how it all goes through. Fluke, Hap, all yours.
Welcome back
What up?
to the least abusive caster duo we have in EU.
What? Is that us?
Did you never?
Yeah,
that's us actually.
We're the friendliest caster duo in EU.
Well, I mean, Jess and Des seem to flirt a lot. I'm not sure if that means that they're friendly with each other.
I loved that was a comment I read. I don't try and read too much about casting. Whenever I see a thread, I'm like, uh-oh. But it was, I love their casting, but I wish they wouldn't flirt so much. I love that as a review. We don't flirt enough, I don't think, you and I. No response, I hear. Or you've...
Oh, I muted my microphone.
Oh, you muted your microphone? I thought you just left me.
No.
Abandoned me.
I mean, that would have been better for
It would
the
have been
story,
funny.
where
It was
complete
funny.
denial would have been...
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I try to flirt with numbers, so I heard that doesn't really go well.
No, that does not. Famously...
I'm like, there's a 99% chance of...
Hey, there's people out there that... I think if you flirted with numbers towards Dev, it'd be all over it. Anyway, let's flirt with Siege. And we're here on Oregon. Siege, an EU's favourite fling. The place where we always like to go when we're feeling a bit low. And you can't get lower than being one map away from kicked out of the major. Tempra, you've got everything to do, unfortunately. And you've got all the pressure in the world to do it with. So now's your time to show up. Now's your time to show some of the flash and panache that we saw towards the dying throes of last season.
Alright, bans coming out. We see the Nomad being banned, one that we didn't really see come through the last time around. Wasn't that impactful. The my being removed, however, is something that I'm more all about, Make it a bit harder to hold into elbow, to hold the pillar. You only have to do it with that Jaeger. As we're going now into the final ban, it will be that Kaid. Which is a strange one, because the last time around we saw a Tetra ban, but no Kaid, and now we see the Kaid ban.
Yep, Kaid's gone, taken out of the equation and locked off. Obviously concerns towards the hatches, the walls, and how it can be played, and they want to have themselves a pretty aggressive map. But this removal, well, it's a fairly standard removal of operators. It gives yourself the stretch to be able to apply all the pressure towards the site that you need to. I expect to see a lot of swinging guns and aggression. The Warden has the opener pick there as a potential bait and play and say, well, don't try and play anything like a Ying. Don't go for anything quick and aggressive. And then they just opt off of it anyway towards the original idea in sight.
It's a warning shot.
Yeah.
Don't play that Ying. We will be ready. Of course they're going off of it. But it's like, we are not afraid to play it. We're not afraid to use it. Just have it might be a bit of luck. You never know. But hey, it's going to be the Maestro. And that means Evil Eyes will be joining as a bulletproof gadget to get with the Lucy Banshees, of course. And that means both will need to get some explosives done. We also see some shields with Goyo and Smoke. Meaning that the grenades and the S charges and Sophia charges really have to hit their marks after those ADSs are wasted.
Now, how are they going to try and crack this? Obviously, they want to lead in with as much of their defense as possible. Tempra, and so far, historically, they haven't really had the best day. Their showing in the very first map on Villa was good. If they can get there again, they might be able to have something better than good. But their showing on Oregon is a story they probably want to forget. Only a single round as Empire rebuilt the Empire that they can scarily put together in a very short space of time, whereas you look at Virtus.Pro's match against BDS, 7-8. A storming, unbelievable game that really went all the way to the wire. Virtus.Pro are good on Oregon. They've demonstrated it, and they want to show that they're better than good. They want to show that they're a team that can win here, and they've set themselves up only one away from progressing in the lower bracket.
So Some quick pressure coming down right here onto the bottom of the tower stairs. Lucy being taken now, no ADS there to try and back it up. We instantly see rotation being created into the meeting, and it shows you the play and the game that Virtus.Pro wants to play. They want to play that highly, well, controlling game. Soon to open up the hatch as well, of course, and that gives you the opportunity to open up towards the side. Jess explained it before, I believe, the shield that you can play on that side towards blue. There's often a player there as well. And thus, we will most likely see a Hibana charge being used here. There's the angle. That is just to try and counter Void. Thank you for highlighting it. Makes my life a lot easier.
Now then, as they try and bro their way through all of the defenses that are put in, Shinka's holding this quite aggressive on the nook of elbow. The Venus is where he's locked himself in with the shotgun, and he's swinging to try and capitalize upon it. The canister goes down. Stops the instant approach there, and it's the burn of utility that comes through first. Pasha pushes, peppering bullets down towards the brickwork and seeing if the masonry's going to hold up. For now it does, but P4 is the first to find that Milon doesn't. Drops the body as they try and approach down the stairs.
And that is the danger here. There is basically a lot of angles to worry about on this bottom floor. You cannot really walk in from blue anymore because a player on the tower will be able to counter. As you see, there's already here holding with the Alda, basically looking out anybody from putting down some pressure into the actual elbow. Especially now gets the kill into P4. That removes one of those roamers, one of those impact players that could be making sure that a push will be doomed to fail. As now a grenade comes down as well, will surely be removing Void from his current position. But I believe the shield, if it might still be there, will stand. As Ras now gets close, he's going to be trying to counter off these players. One that is right behind the pillar. Ras now coming around the corner, getting that kill. No, he will fail to get the kill. Void will survive, but instantly being traded out by Shockwave. And with these last 25 seconds left, we have a 3v3 situation on our hands.
Now then, as it turns into a 2 versus 3, they know roughly where the bodies are, but they've got to recollect the diffuser to see if they can stick it down and all the angles are held. Okay, Oxys goes down, but they might not know what they've done. Well, they definitely know now. Finishes the job, and now they've just got to try and stick it. But the concern is the loop over the top. Have to have the cover and have to have the stick. They're both stacked up. Durza swings round, gets one, and the second falls with just not putting the diffuser down. Tempra, you find your first round. Let's see what you can do now. Do you see
believe in the last... Yeah.
Did you see the body pop up there at the end?
Yeah, it just sounded like
quite
kick boo.
Okay, now you say your professional point.
I was going to say, I believe that Gio said and that in the last 3 maps, they only won 6 rounds in total. Tempra, that is, wouldn't be enough to get a single map closed out. So they really have to show up now, considering the fact that they're a map behind. They're starting up strong. Instantly getting that first point on the board. They still need to get some more. Preferably, you need to get 4 rounds onto this half. Otherwise, it might be leaning a bit more into VP's favor.
Let's see what they can stack up here on the second story. A bit of a burn of utility cost them a bit too late. Obviously, the first body falling away from them too. And Milon was taken out of the equation quite early on. It wasn't really the story on the last map. They were obviously in a bit of a dominance and a bit of a control, but at the same time, they're pretty consistent in getting the opening frag, getting the opening foray into a team that otherwise can be a little cooked when they need to be. Tempra, they sometimes swing a bit too aggressive, but it also sometimes works quite well. They have themselves a bit of an idea where a drone is playing, but they're going to hold and lock down towards the tower as they keep a cool head and a calm idea of the lockdown.
Kicking off here onto the attic. Of course, there is a Thatcher available, but VP chooses not to bring it. There's multiple ways to deal with potential utility being put down. As a very aggressive peek right here for P4 will do a lot of damage onto Milon. Pasha will go down as well. That is the aggressiveness we were talking about. That is what we would like to see from Tempra. They need to be disruptive, and that's exactly what they're doing here. They took out one of the 2 heart breachers, and Milon is low on HP as well. P4 not thinking about slowing down, staying aggressive onto those main stairs.
Now then, as they lock down their intel game, which was a very strong idea before, what I said about Tempra on their defense on Consulate was they were a little bit scared of it. They would get droned out, pull back, and hand the territory over without putting up the firefight. Here, so far, different story. They're butting heads. They're finding some aggression to match them with, and they're looking for firefights. They need to do this. They need to progress into this confidence, because if they do not, they will find themselves falling back onto previously unpushed territory. They suffer when they stumble, and they suffer more than a lot of other teams. But look at this. P4 pops the drone, puts forward aggression. This is the name of the game that works best for Tempera, and this is what they forgot during Consulate.
This is the confidence we need them to bring, as Durza now picks up a kill onto Milan as well. An impact grenade will be prepped for him to try and rotate down to the kitchen, to the garage actually, not the kitchen, that's a bit further away. The shockwave is getting close to try and hunt him. He will be able to get the kill down into P4, but instantly the refrag will be there from Durza, as two Tempra members lined up from that one line of sight. It's all up to WTG right now. A default chem will give away his play, will give away his game, and as it gets spotted by a shoulder peek, he will no longer be, well, probably in a position where he can pick up a kill, because all the members of Tempra are getting quite passive. Two stuck behind his shield. Foy in games, just waiting passively together with Chaoxis, meaning that as soon as he's in the middle of that room, he will be peeked by 4 different players, and there's no way he can get out alive.
4 different players, 2 more smoke canisters left to go through, and ADS, as you assume, that will stop any of those frag grenades that he tries to throw through. He is in a bit of a tough spot right now, and he needs to try and see if, I guess, have a team talk, a bit of communication can go potentially a bit of a long way. You can hear the impact prepped as they want to just stack up. There's just waiting at this point, waiting for the swing, waiting for the pre-fire. Tempra have nothing else they need to do here, and while he's not saving up, he's having a conversation. Virtus.Pro, he lost the 2 opening rounds last time, but at the minute, you're looking much different last time. You almost seem like you haven't quite got your bearings yet on a map that is yours. There's at least one for WTG as a bit of an exit, but otherwise, it's a Tempra round.
Save those last 2 seconds to really, you know, get that final team talk through. Maybe, I don't know. Virtus.Pro 2-0 behind currently. Tempra find themselves with 2 early rounds yet again. But the question is, will it basically swing from here on? Because the other time around, we also had 2 rounds in a row from Tempra. And then Virtus.Pro came in and said, until here and no further, we'll take it from here. As they managed to pick up a couple of rounds in a row, eventually took a win 7-3, very comfortable as well. So Tempra are going to make sure that that doesn't happen again. They need to get those 4 rounds in total. And yes, they are on the tertiary bomb site now, the offsite, however you want to call it. There is an opportunity here for Virtus.Pro to pick up this round. And if Tempra get away with this one, it is looking very good for them.
Now, as they find themselves, as I said, playing the tertiary, let's see what Tempra decide to lean in with. So far, as I've said, it's confidence is the key. And they're making sure it's a key to success. They're keeping an eye on an angle and leaning back against Virtus.Pro, who haven't really been able to respond yet. They keep being taken a bit by surprise. Sure, it was close on the first take and on the first sight, but the second was a lockout. The area of concrete turned into its name, and it didn't let anybody through.
Showers is being set up, a very important hold on this site. Seen many iterations of this with shields deployed on either side of the lockers where the ADSs are located to behind the lockers for the ADSs to have some more use. Sometimes not even a shield at all, just a couple of rotates that they can play with. However, keep in mind there is multiple new ways to play around this with the way that the exothermics can be used. If you would bring a thermite, that is not the case, as they are choosing to bring both Hibana and Ace. It's a different kind of setup, and I think this would be the one side where a Thermite is basically 100% picked based on what he brings to the side in verticality.
Now as the approach comes through and they rattle grenades down to anyone that might get caught by the wall of Virtus.Pro information, it hasn't proven prudent as of yet. Durza's still buried in. They hear the explosions, which is going to make that rotation a very tough possibility if he wants to head into the A site from showers. Here's the breach coming on the wall, but that's why you have the shield. That's why you have this ability to swing round with a huge weapon. you are currently holding. More drones, more intel, more ADSs. They've still got to get their way through. The big cost is coming now as they want to try and lock down this first foray, but they're not quite able to. They're happy to keep swinging and popping. They know this is their chance to reload because the ADS burn is coming. They somehow get out of there. Not caught by Virtus.Pro, but finally forced out of the showers and into a slightly different situation.
P4 threading dangerous grounds right here as he is going aggressive, will be picked up and punished straight away, but the refrag will be there, followed up by yet another one from Pasha, and suddenly we find ourselves in the middle of a very hectic situation where 2 kills go the way of VP and only 1 in favor of Tempra. There is yet another player behind that shield as Keox is able to hold off 2 showers semi-effectively as he is going to get spotted by drones, but he doesn't have the shields to play with anymore.
Now, as they pepper bullets through Chaoxis is able to find Shockwave and looks towards the opposite door to try and stop the progression, but the kit's still cold. Sits in and amongst the hold of the Russians as they try and rebuild and reevaluate the push in the final 45 seconds. Not impossible, no, but tough as the bullets start to fly and careen towards the kitchen. Voy, locked in with special glasses, is keeping a keen eye, but it's Rusk that is steadily going to put the pressure down on Zulu. Shinka has the angle, and this fight is going to be what makes it, and it goes into the favor of Tempra. Now they can focus everything background, but Pasha's taken the place, pulled out of showers, and pulled through Shinka, but doesn't pull through the second. It's all down to the 1 versus 1 now as Milan, in the meantime, crept up towards Kitchen. Realized the push was there, but 20 seconds. Has the diffuser, but that's not what he has to do right now. Has to push the pressure on. Swings one way, goes round the opposite. 10 seconds. He's made his decision and he's going to try and live by it. Looks for the feet, looks for the angle, hits the bodies, gives the game away. Doesn't know whether he's left or right, but Chaoxis knows what he wants to do. And it's get Tempra their third.
I was going to say lucky for him that he has that LMG to work with, but he didn't commit to the pre-fire in the end, as he wasn't quite sure where the player would have gone through. Thus, Tempra able to pick up that 3rd round in a row. And if they manage to get 1 more in, they already secured a very, well, decent split if it would be 4-2 to end. But if it would be 4-0, that means they also have the opportunity to push towards a 5-1 or maybe even a 6-0 flawless half. And that would be a way to go up to a map number 3. If you would be putting it up to 6-0 and then maybe clean it out, you would answer with a pretty much dominant map of VP, with a dominant map of your own. And it's always, you know, feeling better being the second team to hand out a dominant blow, considering you would be going up into the decider map with a phase like that. But I might be talking ahead of what's actually to come, because we're only 25% through on this map. Maybe even less than that, considering we might go to overtime.
Dev's confused.
Yeah, you cannot count.
Dev's confused. The
3.
stats. The man loves Excel. The man loves sheets. The man loves... He loves stats. And he looks at this and he goes, why is Tempra winning? And for me, it's a bit of passion. Something that you can't put on a sheet, unfortunately. You can't measure panache. You cannot measure fire. Well, you can measure fire, but it's a different kind of fire.
How do you measure fire?
Well, you put your hand on it and go, that's pretty hot. What we're looking at.
Thermometers to do that.
What we're looking at right now, the thermometer is the smarter option, but I'm not here for the smarts. I'm here for the passion, the pace, and what is being applied by Tempra. And for me, it still boils down to they're responding. They're not falling back. They're not playing scared. This was the problem that struck them earlier on in the season. This was the start to their split 2, was they tried to overthink things, tried to get a little bit clever for a clever game in a clever meta of let's burn utility and try to count to 20 before we get the push down. And at this moment in time, they've gone, no. Everything has to be pushed back against them. We cannot let Virtus.Pro take an inch before they take a mile. You cannot measure that on stats. You can only measure that by results. That might be a stat, sure, but for now, the result is a more confident playstyle.
Seeing a very aggressive player still here on Tempra. This boy tries to hunt down that drone. We'll be able to get it eventually. Still no real ground being gained here by VP, who are all 5, I believe, in the construction side. As indeed they are. Waiting to push into blue, waiting to push into elbow, and just completely overwhelmed them. But you have to be careful, because there is that one big gun on the other side. It's called the Elder. It has 84 bullets, I believe, in the magazine. It's going to be able to just hold down the left mouse button for a very long while. As Goxis that picks up the first kill, he will be traded. However, Rask able to pick up a double kill on the back of that as he pushes through. It's the fact that 3-on-3, with Pasha still being down, but he will be picked up, and that leaves us for a very interesting last 80 seconds.
Rask finding his first 2 kills, and it's a push down a double. Finally, one of the trades and setups goes their way. They've got themselves set up with a bit of a difference, a bit of a swing, and Durza re-evaluating and retaking territory, hoping to catch them by surprise. Flashes come through, and there goes Zafir. Almost finds the second and does, fires to the third. But Pasha's able to lock it down. There is the difference in play. James, there is a confidence that they otherwise did not have. They retook their own territory and played the pressure game, but Pasha's playing his own. And it's to find a double, the third person this round, to make that mark. P4. As you said, do they know? Seems they do. Virtus.Pro finally find their first.
Thanks for the quick answer, Virtus.Pro, telling me that you indeed knew. Who's going to be coming from that door? Would have expected maybe a quicker plan than the actual side, knowing that the last one was on the back stairs. But they might have not been sure or certain about it. And as we now head into round number 5, it is 1-3. If VP managed to pick up one more round, then there is no worries yet. However, if they do not manage to pick up a single round anymore, then Tempra is going to be singing into that second half, and Devmarter will definitely like that.
Things will make sense again. The answer, so I gave an answer. I painted an answer, as is my job.
As is your
one
job.
of the people from the studio, I'm not going to name names in case, but one of the people from the studio's answer was, because it's 2020. Because nothing makes sense this year. It's a crazy upside down year.
There's a lot of weird things happening, that's for sure. But hey, we're pretty much, close to getting through that year. So we're going to be seeing how much crazier 2021 will be.
And that's until we hit December 32. Like it's.
Oh, that's when panic strikes. When that is
just
showing
never
up in your clock, it's like, wait, are we stuck in this year? Forever.
Groundhog Day would be a very different film if it happened in 2020.
Okay, I know, like, we normally joke about me not getting references, but I haven't seen that movie, so if it's a movie, that is. I'm sorry, I'm uneducated. I do stats, I do the movies.
That's fair. I mean, what was it that Milos
I mean,
had?
I've seen Rain Man, and I've seen Forrest Gump.
Yeah, Milos hadn't seen Forrest Gump until like a week ago or something.
Yeah, he didn't see Rain Man either. Like, so I'm ahead on that part.
Congratulations,
But I
you're
didn't
ahead
get
on
that
films
reference.
that released in the 90s. You're ahead on films that were released before you were born.
Yes.
Congrats. Hey,
Feels young, man.
talking of, well, no, this is in no way related. The man's going to try and peek from a window. There's no way to thread this to Forrest Gump. That is not the kind of film that film is. Shockwave, though. Did he fall off the roof? I believe
I think he did.
he did.
That is unfortunate. That is ADHP you will no longer get back. That is also the DBNO state that is no longer available for you. Speed 4 is just patiently waiting in a window, waiting for people to arrive. Might actually find one soon. And his passion now goes quite low as well. So we have 2 members on VP, very low on HP.
2 hard destructors, very low on HP, but at least WTG is able to make something of the round and start to pull something into the favor. Shockwave and Pasha still have a lot of work left to do, but my word, they have to be careful whilst they do it. It's going to take the pressure that can be applied by the 3 other members of the team to alleviate some space for them to operate and work in. Patience seems to be the angle and the idea here, as P4 probably smokes a cigarette, puts it out on the wall and says, I will wait for them as they swing round. But Chaoxis is the first who does not want to wait and takes care of WTG, swinging and popping the man. That's 2 frag grenades gone, that's your sledge, and one of your healthy members of the team left. They're dancing on the door, but, well, that's a dangerous dance to make. Milan suffers for it.
Keox is now, however, stuck inside of a corner and is afraid of someone potentially moving up onto the actual attic window. Because if that is the case, he might be, what with dead men walking, really. As the C4 there, not finding anybody. P4 thinking about going for a flank, but the drone of Rask will be given away that game, meaning he will have to try and rotate back up from another way. That's Milan right now, moving in yet another drone just to make sure that they don't know he's in classroom. That might be coming back to bite them. Is this just waiting? He's just holding, and if Rask will be moving in from that main door, which he's about to do, he will be picked up by P4 any second now. There we go. There's the kill. Easy.
Yeah, swung with the idea that he knew someone might be there, but P4, well, he did the better idea in the bright classroom. He is the star student for this round and gets the gold stick. And Milan, can you try and earn one of your own? Unfortunately not. Locked down, shut down, and shut off before you even get through. Tempra, they put their 4th round on the board. Guaranteed themselves a pretty good Oregon split if the standard, but can they keep pushing? Because you need to have everything under your belt, especially when that death knell still looms and hangs like the ominous pendulum covered in the Virtus.Pro logo that it is.
That is it. VP is one map up, and that is something we cannot forget. Because if they manage to get this next round in, as we are going to laundry supply, which in one round proved to be quite a issue. In the other round, they managed to play around it in the end, but it turned down into a very close situation. Which one is it going to be this time? Is it going to be VP having troubles actually entering into blue? Will they be more effective, cleaning out all the utility that will be brought by Tempra to try and slow them down? And yes, there is utility being placed towards laundry, and you might be wondering, why is that the case if everybody always attacks from elbow, from the laundry stairs? Well, it's just purely for the fact that sometimes you have crazy teams. I believe one of them was called Tempra, who like to actually attack from laundry and freeze. And now you have utility there to deal with it in case. So, like, you cannot put everything onto one room, for example.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's a famous eggs and basket saying about that.
What's to say?
Oh, you shouldn't put all your utility in one room. 4-1. Tempra find themselves up now, and obviously they're looking at potentially making it 5. Laundry, as you said, has been a bit back and forth. For me, the adaptation, I guess, has to come from Virtus.Pro. They've started to appear to be more akin to the team that we've seen earlier on, putting bodies down. It was quick trades, quick doubles that started to thread a story of success, where it obviously opted and ended in their round win. But can they double it down? Seems like they want to go the same approach. Lock down blue, lock down elbow, as they've done before, and start to force them into an uncomfortable position. The change here is, are they going to be more aware and pay more attention to the possibility of Tempra swinging towards them instead of away? As I've said a couple of times already, it seems to be the big break or make that's been consistent this round.
So many utility already being taken care of, talking about bulletproof cams as in the evil eyes, and good piece of utility coming out there as well, knowing exactly where Foy will be playing. You might see Rask trying to go aggressively for a peek there, as Pasha already found himself deep inside of elbow, inside the blue bunker, hoping to put down some pressure. And what they might be waiting for now is for a potential reinforce of the rotation that they have right there. I'm not sure if they still have a reinforcement in pocket. It would often be followed up with a smoke canister being tossed into elbow, which allows you to go for it. I know they're thinking about it, but as Durza's just sprays down 2 of them right there, it's going to be a 3rd one to fall, and suddenly it's all Shockwave and still inside of construction, able to get 1 kill down, able to secure that one as well with a C4 Foy, will blow him into pieces. It is a 5-1 split here for Tempra, and that is a very advantageous position to potentially push for a map number 3.
A very clean way to put a full stop on the end of the sentence of your defense. But now you've got to try and make a new story. This one of your attack, which is probably a tale best said a little amount throughout today so far. Now is your only opportunity to rewrite your own history, or at least try and add an addendum of, oh wait, we can do this, take maps and take games and take rounds again. You've got 2 more to try to lock it off here. Obviously, this is the same. This is better than the split that was faced on the previous map. And obviously, the other way around. Can you solidify yourself here, Tempra?
That's the question. Can you solidify yourself? Can you now show that your Oregon is one to be afraid of, as VP is currently being shut out? They were only able to get 1 attack round done. of course, that can be enough if your defense will be flawless. So there is still going to be that opportunity that VP run away with a win here in the regular time. But it is unlikely. It is very much possible that Tempra is going to be able to at least get one round in, especially with the way they have been playing on this map so far.
Well, here comes an approach, and here comes a lockdown. I'm curious to see whether we get a build from Virtus.Pro. I suppose all of my curiosities are built upon that, the ideas that they can put forward against Tempra. Tempra themselves, they seem to be attacking with a bit of pace. Hey, when did they last do that on this map? Well, it was very good, and it was against G2. And it ended up in some pretty fun Amory plays that you hope to see replicated.
Waiting. 2 minute 30, no Amaru, of course, yet. You all remember that one round against G2 that Tempra played here. Able to basically trick them. We'll have to wait before we see that again. Of course, we're still... Ooh, that was a very close pre-fire right there for Milan. Almost able to take down Durza as it was quite near the actual head. But it does give away the fact that someone is indeed in attic. Someone is roaming upstairs, and that gives the opportunity to Tempra to try and circle someone around it, to try and get someone into a position where you can try and take down this roamer. Milan knows he's being droned, however, as the drone is making a lot of noise. Surviving for now, as he will be able to find it and fall back into hopefully safety for him.
Well, now as they angle their eyes towards the site, Shockwave's in a bit of a tough situation. Rask is currently unpressured and untethered down inside blue, has the ability to swing round, but Shinker is going to be the man that tries to stress the pressure on that side instead. It's a bit of an extension around. 3 bodies allow themselves to have a crossfire on any of the general approaches. The hatch isn't truly safe. It's got to be a bit of a burn of utility first. Rask swings a bit closer towards Harry Potter on the opposite side of the door. Digs himself in to offer Shockwave a bit more support. They've read that the pressure's going to start from this staircase and they need the immediacy here. There it goes, and there it goes again. But the trade comes round from the man that dropped down the hatch. Now it's the corridor, but the freezer is cold still, as Milan lives up to that frosty reception and turns the man away. Now, with 45 seconds, the remaining 2 players approach from the staircase as they try to recollect and grab that diffuser before they go to put the kit towards the site. The smokes are popping across the board. The creep comes through and the ace charge gets, well, catches one of the ADSs.
Could be used as well, of course, in case there would be a shield there. Maybe throwing it in blindly, hoping to get it, because it is, of course, that Goyo shield. Grenade will be tossed over, but caught off by the last ADS, meaning that no impacts will be found from that. And as Void now drops the diffuser and gives it over to Shinka, the Heart Breacher, to try and get that plan down. The last smoke canister will be used. A quick shotgun shot will be coming in to drop that diffuser. The double kill will be coming in from Tempra, however, as they are able to pick up 2 kills here. It's only up to Pasha now in a 1v1 situation. And he will be able to close it out. Foy had no clue that he was this close to him and he was this ready to receive him. As he picks up on that kill, VP is able to stay away from a map point for just a bit longer.
Will just a bit longer be all that they can do, I guess? It's a battle of pace now. You're on obviously a 5-2 split. You've doubled what you've been able to do this game, but you are on your defense on Oregon. Sure, it is the map that is often cited as being the most balanced across the pool, but at the same time, it doesn't mean it's easy. And it means you've got to sometimes stress things, test things, and see what you can do. And this is that. Meeting Hall and Kitchen, the bait of the play, is going to be the name of the game as they realize they've got to go here anyway. So why not do it when there might be a slightly different roster trying to put pressure onto you?
Of course, you see 2 of the Heart Breaches being brought out. You see the Ace and the Hebana, yet no Termite seeing play. Which is really strange to me, because I think Termite is one of those operators that, especially on this side, is very impactful. Of course, it's maybe less versatile as the Ace and the Hebana, which allow you to deploy your Heart Breach gadgets from a range. You don't have to be close to the wall. But they do make smaller holes, and especially if you would be going over to the dining and kitchen bomb site, which is not the case this time, as we are meeting, the Termite is just so strong as you can open up from above the complete walls and the vertical holes. Even if they would be electrified, even if they would be muted, it wouldn't be an issue for him.
5-2 2, Tempra, you sit in a good position, but obviously if this starts slipping through, the worry and questions of momentum might start to reappear. When things go away from some teams that have built up a bit of a lead, it can really affect you mentally, especially when there's such a huge heap of pressure already placed upon a team, and the possibilities of where you might go, unfortunately, might be a bit of a short story. The pressure comes. The approach seems to be straight through the head of Durza, who gets dropped almost instantly by the double up on the second story. Pasha and Rask keeping things locked down in Virtus.Pro fashion with huge aggression and huge gun skill.
Don't really think they had a clue that he was already that far up, but managed to make his way through quite quickly after they blew up that castle barricade. Now, you do see Tempra, however, setting themselves up to go for a take into the actual kitchen. The Gemini replicator will be taken down, I believe, by Shockwave, who's playing on the rotation in the actual meeting. So that means WTG, his position will stay undetected. Chaos is, however, still looking to be jumping in from that big window. That is the angle that WTG is holding with that Shotgun or SMG-11 as the verticals have been created. Just waiting to pick one up. Just patiently holding it for his teammates, Pasha especially, who is, of course, up here, hoping to cover anybody moving in from the kitchen. So you have like this double-way cover going up across both floors of Oregon, where one covers the other.
Now then, you're measuring, you're waiting. WTG's actually really just lying on the floor and waiting for someone to pop through a window so you can shotgun him through. Shinka's on a slow and steady approach here as he creeps his way closer towards, again, this second story that is very important territory that you've got to get control of. There's concern of where the bodies are, and you've obviously already lost 2 here, but you do have the possibility of Void with Yana to lead in with a bit of a human drone, get a bit of a bead, and at least put the pressure down on them. Force one of the 2 in a slightly more uncomfortable situation, as they were so adept at doing to you earlier on. Consular. Pasha swings towards every possible opening and looks towards the hashes as means of escape. Rask decides to swing the pressure towards the top of White Stairs. It's WTG that locks it off. Drops down Voy. Now it's just the 2 hard destructors. Sorry, only 1. Sorry, none. Left as Virtus.Pro lock a flawless.
That's exactly what Virtus.Pro need. They need to come back from this 5-1 that they were dealt with. Basically, that's the hand they were dealt with in the first half. And they're trying to fight back now. They managed to get 2 in a row. The first one was a bit tricky. The second one is definitely a lot more convincing. As you said, it was a flawless round to come through, where I think that would be a good round to look into again, because you have the player inside the security who is holding off onto the big window, which allows Rask or Pasha, I believe it was, that was playing in kids, to hold the hatch, to hold down anybody moving in for kitchen who could be a threat to WATG that was in security. And you're like, well, there's also a door leading into security. Yes, that is true, but Shockwave was holding that door all the way from meeting, so a very long angle to contest right there. And if you would be contesting that one, there would be enough time for WATG to respond to that. So I really like the setup they went with there. And as I say that, instead of going top floor, they're actually going to the dining kitchen. Not going to the top floor yet.
Hey, it's a game of expectation, and they're trying to break those. We know that they're a good Oregon team, and we know that they've been able to demonstrate skill across the multiple different sites even earlier today, so why not stress yourself around? Why not explore the rest of what the map has to offer, and why not play against a game of expectations? Because what Virtus.Pro do is when they have an idea, they have a plan, they can run it very, very well on their good days. They run it unstoppably. Here is a good day for them, and here they are setting themselves up in places where they're running their game, they're running their pace, they're dictating the play for now, and they're forcing Tempra to have to adapt and try to overcome. And as I said before, sometimes when Tempra get a little bit beaten back, they unfortunately get pushed very far back. Oh, hey, here's an idea, and it gets shut down. WTG swings onto the 2 early entrants that try to careen and scream their way through. You lose Durza, you lose P4, you lose your momentum. Now, unfortunately, it was a Hail Mary, but nobody was there to catch it.
And it's the biggest enemy of Russia's, I think. The LMG, the Aldab, that has the opportunity to just hold that left mouse button and completely end your hopes and dreams. As they hope to take some quick control, they hope to overwhelm it, as there was still some setup going on. But all that setup has been cancelled now. They're making sure that the site will be secured, and while WTG able to pick up 2 huge frags with taking limited damage, Milan, on the other hand, has taken the worst end of it, as he has been down to about 20 HP. But of course, will still be alive, still has those smoke canisters to play with, and will be able to throw them from relative safety.
Well, what are you going to do now, Tempra, as they reevaluate and reassess the potential push down kitchen corridor? They see the door is soft, and that gives them the ability to put the pressure inside meeting, try and force Milan into a more uncomfortable situation, which comes with these Hibana pellets. They pop off. And Milan has to move, has to dig himself behind the opposite side of kitchen. Still not an easier take, sure, but at least you have a pocket of space. Now you can try and build with it. Look at the thread, though, of the Virtus.Pro players. 4 of them there. You can assume the last one is above, keeping a bit of a lockdown and overwatch. And WTG, well, he's realized the pressure's coming from the other side. He might just go and push on Void.
They managed to shut down Voice, and you can all focus on to the rest of the sites again. But as we say that, the rotation came through again. Shinka will be joining Void for the actual push, but it might be dangerous as WTG is able to pick up yet another kill. That's a triple kill. The diffuser will be dropped. In these last 45 seconds left on the clock, Chaoxys will have to run over as well to recover that diffuser, and there is an ace potential to go up because we're still up against the Alba in the showers that is playing behind a pillar, still has a shield to work with as well, and there's no utility they can use to try and dislodge him. And as the flashbangs are being tossed in, it's Shockwave to take down Chaoxys, and now WTG knows that the last one is in the small tower as well. As the utility starts popping, pre-fires are there as well. All he has to do is hold, tosses in an impact just to try and anger Void into peeking aggressively. With these last 15 seconds left, there is no way he's going to be able to get this clutch going on with. He's going to be able to at least get 1 kill, but that's probably all he will get. As WTG closes it out, will be able to pick up a quad kill. And I think we can really say that he was the savior of Virtus.Pro in this specific round.
Caught the rush, which a lot of other teams hadn't. Oh, including them in the previous map. But when they weren't awake, when they seemed a little bit sleepy-eyed here, though, this is them. They've rubbed off the dust from their eyes, and they're able to put it towards focus and put it towards bringing themselves back into this game. That is 3 rounds now tied in a row. That is your defensive rotation done, and that is a return to Laundry on the cards here, a place where they had a pretty solid hold, but it did start in a pretty progressive manner for Tempra. They locked down some of those early fights and firefights, and it seemed to have a bit of growth potential, but then it fell down to the man and the freezer, and from that point onwards, the rest of the push. Can they adapt? Can they overcome? And can they try and stop this game slipping further and further through their fingers?
That is the thing, right? Tempra, they need to stop it here because this was the round where they managed to get the closest, and which we would consider the offsides because Virtus.Pro played them both as the secondary and the third side, choosing to not even go to that top floor, which is often a site considered, well, the top 2, one of the top 2 sites on this map. They decided to go to the offsides, and they were able to win them both quite comfortably. Even though one was, of course, a failed rusher, you don't really know what the strategy will hold for that one, as it might still vary when Tempra is actually taking a slow approach. But this one was the close one. That is the point I'm trying to make. This is where Tempra needs to show up. This is where they need to secure themselves that overtime. It's so valuable overtime that you're at least going to be given an extra shot if Virtus.Pro manage to climb up to the 6 as well.
Milan, a man who has had some pretty mythical moments, unfortunately hasn't really been able to find his way into this game so far. Last time that was said, he, I believe, then went and got a 4K. Maybe I've done the opposite of a caster's curse. Maybe it's just something he waits for the attention and then he starts to step up. It's weird to say. He's got 3 kills, 3 assists, and that's a slow game for him, but that's the caliber of player we're looking at. So far, the rest of Shockwave and the gang have generally been showing themselves up, which is good to see from Virtus.Pro, a team that we know has a huge amount of potential. P4 tries to creep around the stair set and apply the first bit of pressure towards anybody that might be watching. He just has to hold now as the rest of the body bodies of Tempra start to busy their way around. Get the hatch open, get electric a bit more under your eyes and under your control, so you can have this quick drop, quick move, and quick momentum. Virtus.Pro have a similar hold to what they did before, but this time Shockwave is a bit more adrift. He's playing behind the pillar, the opposite side, instead of Duggan in the corner in the top left, which gives him the ability and safety to push against this drop from Hash. Rask is going to keep the keen eyes towards the stair set, and then that gives the rotation towards elbow of the last body, which I believe is WTG, the ability to swing round and apply the pressure there.
Have to keep in mind there is no player directly in contention to try and make sure that the Hibana charges that might be placed into the electric wall will be taken down. Because Shockwave is stuck behind that pillar, there is a player aggressively playing near those stairs, which basically makes it so he's not going to be able to play as aggressively as he might want to. Grenades are being tossed in to take care of those Banshees. A drop will come through from Durza. The question is it being heard? It doesn't look like it, as the ping actually will be coming through, will be taken down. I mean... And Shockwave will be able to find one as well. Keoxys responds, and we're finding ourselves in a 2-on-3 situation. Virtus.Pro is one man in front in this hold. Are they going to be able to hold on? That is the main question. The Gemini Replicator will be able to drop through, hoping to get some information onto the side of the elbow and the construction side. As no one will be there, it will be deactivated just to get a little bit of a quicker recharge time. And this WTG runs across, quickly pops a smoke canister to make sure that a hatch drop is not going to be as likely as it might be.
Now then, how can you build yourself up from this with only 10 seconds left and still so much of a hold in place? You suffer a little bit of a surprise, but Milon's able to make it work. Swings onto one, and there's the second. Shows up and gets the couple of kills that take them to the round, bring them back in this game level pegging, and give them the possibility of locking this off in just 2 more rounds. A perfect defensive half doesn't seem too far-fetched right now.
5-5, and suddenly it looks like VP might be able to turn it all around right here. It looked so well for Tempra when they were 5-1 up. And now we're going back to Meeting Hall Kitchen, a tertiary site, a offside, however you want to call it. VP call it their secondary site. As the castle is going to be coming out, probably to block off any big tower access. Tempra will really have to find a way to approach this site quickly, because otherwise they will find themselves at a match point yet again.
Back to the kitchen. Back to the meeting, back to this side, and this split, still avoiding dorms. And obviously we talked about it being the potential of surprise, sure, but Virtus.Pro, they just seem to not want to go there. They have a bit of a lack of playing there, a little bit of a lack of preference, and maybe, I guess, his expectation. Maybe it's because we've seen Tempra play against it aggressively very well. They've been able to pull pretty good successive victories on the Dorms push and on the Dorms site, and Virtus.Pro just don't want to give them that game, don't want to give them that possibility of attack and ingress.
Just quickly being opened right here. Shockwave, indeed, there we have it. That's the castle barricade I was talking about. I think that one would be closed, forces them to use a bit of utility as there is no sledge on the board, so either a set of Skyros, a Selma, or an Impact will most likely be used to open up that castle barricade, because as silly as it may sound, but you want to have that extra angle you can use to attack the stage. The Shockwave will be playing around there. There is that mute jammer you need to take care of, and as you're not using the detacher, you will have to get close. You will have to peek around the corner and try and shoot that mute jammer, and these drones will be trying to spot out where the mute jammer exactly is, so they can go for that swing. But you have to be careful, because WTG is also in the kitchen still, in a spot to actually try and go for a swing, a quick pre-fire as well. The drones have confirmed that. So you have opened up the castle barricade, but that's the next issue. How do you deal with WTG?
Well, how do you? The man is currently cooking up a storm inside the kitchen and keeping himself peppered and locked down with a 2.0 KD. Well, it's delicious if you're a Virtus.Pro fan. The pressure comes round on the close corners there as they dig down. 19 look towards the swing of somebody that might be playing around there, as a lot of teams do, but this isn't a lot of teams. This is Virtus.Pro, and they're holding it in their own way. The body and the setup is generally behind the sandbags, making sure that they can loop C4s over the top if they need to. They don't have a shield watching it from long on split, but they do have that. The body above on attic. Rask is able to pop down against those ex-Kairos, and Now he's got an angle too. You can hear more explosions steadily working their way through. The Hibana pellets are going to make this very dicey territory. Tries to dig in at the very end of this and live towards the possibility of a swing here. Hops up and hopes for aggression, but the drone game, you assume, is going to catch him.
Oh, there he goes. He will be jumping out, able to pick up one. Doesn't know that the second one was still up top as well. As they didn't go for the hard right clear, but Shinka will be taken down. As the drone was coming in, he decided to go aggressive and try and take down one of the members. Succeeded in doing so, and thus we are with 50 seconds left in this round. Milan is close on the sandbags. It's going to be able to be in a spot where he can potentially stop a plant. Shockwave on the long angle with the 1.5 scope, I must say, is going to be able to hold up a potential angle as well, as Pasha still up above onto the attic. So he has the opportunity to try and deny anybody who is deciding to put some pressure down from that hatch. Quickly peeking, you can quickly take him out and dispatch him. And thus Virtus.Pro still in the driver's seat, even though that these walls have been opened up. A smoke canister will be coming through, dealing a lot of damage there to Void, and that means B4 now will have to go aggressive. He made his way up to the stage as a second canister will be coming out. That will be blocking out onto that breach, and that means that entry will have to come through that door. Shockwave going quite low. B4 will be downed by the shotgun of WTG with 5 seconds left. Surely it will end here. It's Shockwave and Milan both to pick up a kill and to clean it up. Virtus.Pro 6-5. 1 round away from going through to tomorrow and eliminating Penta out of the major.
Penta? Did you mean to say that?
I'm in Tempra.
You getting your French teams mixed up?
Penta has already been eliminated from Challenger League by another UK team.
Yeah,
so,
I was there.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I was there too. Hey. That's
crazy.
Coincidence?
Yeah, Penta aren't playing in this game though, so they.
No, I'm in Tempra.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's a couple of letters that if you mix and match them, you might be.
Same region, same 6th pick. Warden. The change for the change, and the bait and the play there as they swap over and set themselves up. I guess the potential and concern. Last time we were here, what occurred? It was a quick pace rush that unfortunately fell to the barrel that burned through them. WTG lay hellfire in and amongst them from inside the shower, kept himself clean and squeaky to then pick up another couple as the round progressed. 2, he was impossible to move and maneuver, even with the gall of just throwing yourself into it. Tempra, you are 1 round away from pulling this OT. 1 round away from, I guess, just buying yourself another lifeline into this major, but also 1 round away from unfortunately packing your bags. And, well, we're locked down right now, so staying home, but going home.
Going to the different room in your home.
Going to a different room in your home.
Like the living room holiday.
Yeah.
As we see a pretty similar setup coming up again. You see that vertical hold. This is what I praised before, because you have the opportunity to cover off the big side from the actual hatch. Player in security then will make sure that no one will be jumping in from that big window and will avoid putting up pressure. Now that way, you just saw that that breaching charge being used. If you would bring a termite, I've not said it like 4 times already this game.
You haven't.
You would have actually opened up the wall and created a line of sight, because if you would then open up the wall that is now being selmed as well, you suddenly create yourself a line of sight, how crazy it sounds, directly onto Pasha and WTG. I know, it's like groundbreaking, that's probably why they don't use it. But yeah, like, I just don't get why they don't use that. Like, the ace doesn't bring that much of an advantage over the termite on this map.
Locks you in, locks you down, and I guess it's the team's adaptation. The thing is, obviously, what we've seen from teams like Penta and the showdown that was put in Challenger League with Gamma Gaming especially as well, is the adaptations they like to bring to this map in terms of things like the frost, in terms of things like putting those lockdowns, those thermite tricks in those situations to get the wall here. This is a stack up. This is a huge amount of bodies and pressure on a single doorway right now. It seems like they're going through a much more concerned and conceited approach as they angle themselves towards a door that you assume is going to befall a lot of hot fire in just a moment. Slight flickers of bullets pepper Shockwave on the opposite side as he keeps an eye towards and aimed down, but there's nobody that's intently shutting him down as of yet. Chaoxis is the potential for a bit of surprise here. Digs himself in the back as the smoke canister starts to pop in. Boys crept in but he's caught by the man above. Shockwave, well, nothing fools those spectacles as he keeps his prescription locked in and keeps himself locked onto the gaze there. Chaoxus holds Zulu to try and catch anyone that rotates and cause a bit of a surprise and stir on the backside of this site. And almost fails, but does. But there's the trade. Rask with 1, and now it's a 4 versus 2 situation. Shinka and Durza are all that's left, and they find showers. They find some control and find some semblance of hope, but it's quickly shut down by the 3rd. For Rask looks for the 4th, and it's Milon that finds it. Virtus.Pro are the team that survive on the lower bracket. They will find themselves a new opponent tomorrow and find themselves probably a worrisome night of rest. And unfortunately, Tempra, well, they get to go on the living room holiday.
To 7-3 of a victory of VP to 5-1 behind after your first half here in Oregon. That doesn't really look good, as normally you would expect a team to be able to pick up 1 or 2 attacking rounds, but then suddenly VP was like, you know, all those reverse sweeps that we've talked about in history, Navi, G2 for example, Tempra has been able to pull off a couple as well. You know, why don't we pull one of those? Why don't we just give the fans at home something to cheer for? And that's exactly what happened here. They pulled off the reverse sweep, they send Tempra home in a 2-0, and that's it. That's all she wrote for Tempra.
That's all she wrote. Got to give credit to obviously both teams, but, well, unfortunately, that's all for now. Oh, no, wait! We're going to throw it to the desk. We're going to see what those guys have to say. Let's go over there now.
I'm glad that you remembered about us, Fluke, but yes,